Good morning, and thanks to Utno, AFT, and everyone in my teacher leader programming cohort. Today, I'll be sharing some findings from research on Louisiana House Bills 121 and 122, more commonly known as the pronoun and don't say gay bills. My research focused on how these bills impact educators' ability to support transgender and non-binary students, specifically examining effects on students' social and emotional well-being, academic experiences, and personal development. Before diving into the specifics, I want to do some key definitions that frame this discussion. Gender identity refers to one's internal sense of being male, female, neither, both, or another gender. It's important to note that everyone has a gender identity. For transgender people, their sex assigned at birth and gender identity do not align. This visualization here kind of gives a way of diagramming these different key components. The gender attribution is how others perceive you. Gender identity is how you see yourself. Gender expression is how you display your gender, and the sex assigned at birth. For many people, these elements aren't aligned in the same way. These bills fall under what we can classify as educational censorship laws. They are policies restricting classroom instruction, discussion, and content related to specific areas, including sexual orientation and gender identity. These restrictions limit students' access to inclusive education and potentially create alienating environments for marginalized students. Specifically, HB 121 requires school employees to use names and pronouns that align with the student's sex assigned at birth, unless they have written parental permissions. Meanwhile, HB 122 prohibits classroom instructions of discussion of sexual orientation and gender identity in public schools. It's worth noting that similar legislation exists in at least 10 other states, and recently executive orders have created a broader national framework at the federal level, reinforcing these approaches to gender identity in schools. Existing research strongly suggests that gender-affirming environments produce significantly better outcomes for students. Studies show that transgender and non-binary youth who live with parents, or who live with people who respect their pronouns, report lower suicide attempt rates. Similarly, those who attend gender-affirming schools report lower suicide rates overall. The research also shows that the majority of LGBTQ plus students feel unsafe at school because of their gender expression. Students experiencing higher levels of victimization have lower GPAs, higher rates of absenteeism, and lower commitment to continuing their education. Beyond students, these restrictions affect educators too. A recent RAND Corporation survey found that approximately 24% of teachers reported limitations on race or gender-related topics influencing their curricular choices. About 27% didn't even know if they were subject to such restrictions. Around 10% reported increased anxiety about losing their jobs for discussing these topics. Kind of current national challenges and initiatives, these are somewhat difficult to assess in our current political climate, but organizations like the ACLU have challenged some of the laws in Florida, Iowa, and other states. You may have noticed in the news this week that a Florida teacher lost their job for using the student's preferred name. Last year, a federal judge blocked Florida's ban, and the U.S. Department of Education has investigated civil rights violations in school policies. Yet again, given the current state of the Department of Education, the status of these cases is going to continue to move more slowly through the courts. So it's difficult to keep those up. But local initiatives, I really want to highlight the work of the NOLA Pride Center. They offer LGBTQ plus youth drop-in nights, their weekly gatherings that provide safe social spaces, activities, and resources. They also host virtual gatherings that bring in people from a broader community. In particular, I want to highlight the monthly Safer Schools Educators and Allies meetings, which is a space for allies and LGBTQ plus teachers to discuss and develop strategies for navigating these restrictions while supporting their students. In my interviews, I found several consistent themes that emerged. There is a significant communication gap. One teacher reported that, quote, no teacher knew what was allowed and what wasn't. Most schools provided no communication at all about implementation. This is pretty similar to my own experience at my school. Every single teacher I interviewed reported experiencing ethical conflicts between legal requirements and supporting students. As one educator put it, if I'm not able to be my authentic self for other students, I'm doing everyone a service. In terms of implementation, teachers reported two main approaches. Many engaged in what we might call strategic non-compliance. They continued to use inclusive practices despite legal restrictions by using creative workarounds. Some used last names only during initial roll calls, while others had students write third-person bios that revealed preferred pronouns without directly asking. However, also some teachers reported simply holding back. As one said, quote, "I just keep my mouth shut. It hurts because I've got kids calling each other's names." The impact on students is profound when teachers share that their kids are, quote, "just terrified." This creates a cascading of effects, with one teacher saying, if they're not feeling confident, they're not going to learn. Even if it's something they like, if someone calls them a slur, their day is ruined, end quote. Perhaps most concerningly, many LGBTQ plus students are planning to leave the state because of these restrictions, and also some have to go out of the state to seek medical treatment. So based on these interviews, some different recommendations at different levels. At the school level, there should be the creation of clear guidelines, clear policies for staff on the implementation of these laws while prioritizing student well-being, the establishment of safe spaces within school structures where all students feel welcome, develop creative, legally compliant approaches to inclusive classroom practices, the supporting of teacher collaboration to share effective inclusive strategies, and to diversify volunteer referral networks to include organizations demonstrating inclusive practices. And locally, this could be including organizations such as Growed Out or Crescent Care in your recommendations for volunteers. Also recommendations for teachers' unions, ours and broadly, to continue to provide comprehensive legal guidance to help educators navigate these policies. Last year, I believe Utno brought in a lawyer from Lambda Legal. I think seeing that kind of as a regular presence would be helpful. So that's also something that was revealed in interviews. Also continuing to work towards widespread collective bargaining. Recently, the Chicago Teachers Union negotiated contract protections for LGBTQ plus students into their contract and staff. This included gender support coordinators and requirements for preferred names and pronoun usage. Also through the union to establish collaborative networks for teachers to share effective strategies and resources, and to create professional developments focused on supporting LGBTQ plus students within the legal constraints. And then for community-based recommendations, to continue to strengthen partnerships with community organizations such as the NOLA Pride Center, QDCAP, Whole Village Art Therapy, Queer North Shore outside of Orleans Parish, but also another one that I want to highlight, to develop accessible mental health resources for all students, kind of like a communal place of gathering all these things, establish coalitions of educators, parents, and community members to advocate for policy modifications, to the abolishment of these policies, and create parent education options around supporting all students' well-being. In conclusion, while Louisiana House Bills 121 and 122 create significant challenges for educators and LGBTQ plus students, there are pathways forward through strategic collaboration, creative noncompliance, and community partnerships. By implementing these recommendations, we can work toward ensuring all students receive the support they need to thrive academically and personally, regardless of gender identity or sexual orientation, until we can work towards the abolishment of these bills and have safer schools from a top-down position. Thank you.